am chatting to Tom Angel Ripper of Sodom, and his new album with Sodom, The Arsonist, is out for release on Steamhammer SPV on the 27th of June. So, Tom, how are you today? Thanks for joining me.
I am very fine. Yeah. I'm very busy at the moment. All the time when we get a new album out, there is a lot of promotion activities around interviews, and I got my first copy today.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That's
Yeah, that,
amazing.
yeah, that's a box set.
Ooh,
We have
nice.
there are different configurations. From the new album.
Oh wow, you get like some free gifts and things like that, and some flags and t-shirts and
Yes, and the tape.
oh, gotta have the tape.
Yeah, I don't know. People want to have tape. And I think that nowadays, especially in the metal scene, the people like vinyl tape. Good old school stuff. And
Definitely. I was
that's we have different configuration like the box set, double vinyl, and the CD. If you don't want to spend the money for a box set, you just buy the vinyl.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking to someone the other day about tapes and how people are getting quite nostalgic and teary-eyed about tapes.
Yeah,
I just remember them getting chewed up in my tape player, but but
I
you
don't
know,
I, I don't have a tape player then, but maybe you pay a lot of money if you buy a new tape deck nowadays. It's a lot of
yeah.
800 euros. But my old tape deck, everything is gone. From the 80s.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, would be right in saying that The Arsonist is your 17th studio album? Is that
Yeah, I
correct?
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so with that in mind, and with this kind of retrospective, we've already started talking about tape and stuff. I understand the drum parts for this album were recorded to a 24 track analog tape. Is this
Yes.
inspired by the fact that you released the 1982 EP and it got you thinking about the old days a bit more? Or,
Yeah, yes, maybe when we start the production, when we start thinking about what studio where we can record the songs, um I talked to my drummers. I said I want to have a more organic, most authentic drum sound, like in the 80s,
mm,
when you listen to all Slayer, Venom stuff, big drum kits, guitars left and right, very wide open production, And then I went to the studio, which is a friend of Tony, he's running the studio, and I saw the tape machine standing there. And I'm asking, you still recording bands on a tape machine? It's from the 70s,
nice.
very old. Said, yes, that's it's possible, especially for the drum sound, if you talk about the natural organic drum sound,
Mm,
when you record it on tape, it sounds a little bit different than the recorded digital, And I asked my drummer, I said, okay, when you're recording on tape, as a drummer, you just have one chance recording
mm,
a song, If there is any mistake in the end, or you have to restart from the beginning, But
mm.
Tony did a couple of songs in just one take,
That's amazing.
And so we get a really wide open production. We're also recording the guitars with microphones in a
Nice.
big room, we're recording the vocals in a big, here's a special room for vocal recording, and it's getting a wide open production. But in the end, and that is a shame, we have to compress the whole file because in the
Yeah.
end, you have to copy the analog files to digital
Yeah.
computer, whatever, And in the end, you have to, and when you do the mastering, they told me if you have a wide open production and we don't compress the file, you couldn't hear the songs on the smartphone,
Yeah, I know. It's
You
depressing.
couldn't hear the guitar. So they compress the file that the guitars come closer to the center of the drums, of the vocals, Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way it is nowadays. People listen on Spotify and MP3 and on a smartphone.
Absolutely. I was in a mastering room the other day, actually, talking to a mastering engineer, and he was explaining that the idea behind like the mastering these days is to, if you imagine having a big sound and having to get it through a small letterbox and get all
Yes.
that information in.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, that's the way it is now. It's a shame, but if you get to vinyl, I think it's more, he did another mastering. It's more wide open, in my opinion.
Mm,
Um,
abs
I can understand this because when I don't want to consume music, I just want to enjoy music, When
yeah.
I get a new album, it's for me, it's like a ritual. I have my hi-fi equipment, my stereo equipment, and I want to enjoy listening to the music and not only consuming hundreds of songs every day. It's
That's right.
yeah, but the times change. That's the way it is nowadays.
Well, so it does sound very alive, and it sounds very lively, which is obviously that recording technique's paid off, and it does remind me. I mean, I loved the 1982 EP you did. It just took me back. I was a thrasher in the 80s. I loved all
Mm.
that, and yeah, back in 1982, if you can cast your mind back, like when you were like first doing Sodom, what were your aims, or was there no aim at all? Is it just youthful exuberance that was coming out in the form of music? Because you were pioneering at the time. Did you
I
realize
think
you
that
were?
Yeah, I think the pioneers were Venom, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I talk about another guy, because the first Venom record changed everything.
Mm,
This record changed the metal scene, the music scene, that changed my life.
mm,
And we got this album in '81, the
mm,
first Welcome to the Record, and that's something I never forget. And then
mm.
we decided with my friends, let's form an old band. Let's make noise. Um, yeah, I think this was the spark to the powder keg. This first Venom record was changed everything. And when we
Absolutely.
started, we never think about being professional musicians, because all the other guys who wrote, they were against the music. My parents, his teachers, establishment. My father always told me, you have to go to work. You don't have to make music.
Mm.
Especially when I quit my job in a coal mine in '89, my father was really disappointed about it. And I said, I want to make music. I want to spend more time with my band and touring and making noise and
Mm.
rehearsal and whatever. But in the beginning, we never think about being a professional band. But
Absolutely.
we get 2 years later, we get the first contract with SPV, Steamhammer in '84.
Mm. There you
That
go.
was amazing because I don't know why we get the record deal, but the chief of SPV told me you got something really special. So we tried to record in a couple of songs, and see what happened.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember back in those days, actually, um, the German sound. There was a lot of talk about the German sound because you had the American, like your Metallica, Megadeth, all that stuff. I always preferred the German stuff because it was more aggressive. It was
Mm.
more, it was darker. The vocals were nastier, and it was like it between yourselves and Creator and those sorts of bands. That was what
Mm.
was like obviously I'm a big black metal fan now, so that's probably
Yeah,
where it came from.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and so with that in mind, I was at a black metal festival last week, Fortress Festival, and I asked
Oh,
everybody if you
yeah.
had to sum up black metal in one track to someone who'd never heard of it before, what would you play them? Now, the first answer that came out was Venom, and the
Yes.
second answer that came out was actually I'd probably play them Sodom. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
how does
Yeah,
that
I
feel that
think
you've
that
influenced
was
all
a
those
fir-
bands?
yeah, that was the first wave of so-called black metal.
Mm,
Because in '81 we don't talk about black metal. That came with the second Venom recording.
mm,
But you cannot compare this kind of black metal with a modern black metal band.
no.
It's completely different.
Mm.
And for me, a lot of people say on the last record, Genesis 13, also the new one, you got some black metal influences. Why not? We can we created, we coming
Yes,
from a black metal scene.
yes.
And especially our drummer was playing in black and death metal bands.
Mm. Hmm.
He wrote 4 or 5 songs for the new album, which is completely different to Frank's guitar sound and style to play with arrange writing songs. I never mind, I like some old school black metal stuff, like Battery. I was
Yes,
growing up with Battery and Venom and Celtic Frost. It
yeah.
has nothing to do with the black metal nowadays.
Well,
That's
you could,
why I like bands like Midnight. I really enjoy.
yeah,
Because then this is a black metal rock and roll. Yeah, there's Motorhead in it, there's Venom in it, there's Battery.
yeah.
And that's what I really enjoy. So if we're gonna do some black metal songs, why not?
No, absolutely. And you can hear the hallmarks. Like you can hear what the influence they've taken from you in certain songs. Like, some of the riffing and stuff like that definitely sounds like Sodom, definitely sounds like Celtic Frost, definitely sounds like Bathory. You can hear
Yeah,
it in the
yeah,
DNA. You
yes,
can,
yes, exactly. But
Absolutely.
also when I listen to Venom, yeah, these are not special black metal riffs. These are just normal,
No,
regular metal riffs, you know.
no, yeah,
But it's blowing up to black metal because of the bass sound, the vocals, chronos, and the lyrics. And the satanic image, you know, which I really enjoy. But I don't like so much the newer modern black metal bands. It has nothing to do what I think about black metal now.
absolutely, absolutely. It's the it may not be the most like the Venom stuff may not have been the most technical stuff, but it was the aggression, it was the vibe, it was the intensity that's it was the spirit, wasn't it?
But also the way they're gonna write songs.
Mm,
Venom has really good songs, and if you listen to a Venom song, the arrangement is perfect. You
mm,
know? We covered some Venom songs in the last years, you know, and it was great, you know, how they combine it, how they are able to write good songs, you know, and good
yeah.
chorus lines in it. That's the same like Sodom. When we start writing songs, you know, we can do whatever we want, you know.
Mm,
It doesn't matter if it's a classic metal riff or more black metal guitar riff. I never mind, you know.
mm,
We just have to keep the typical Sodom trademarks, which is my voice, the bass sound, the arrangement, you know. That is
mhm.
very important, you know. So I don't describe myself, my band, as a thrash metal band, you know. It's more, we are just a metal band making it in a heavier
Yeah.
way, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like, are you proud of that legacy that your band's created and the influence it's had today? Does it, are you one of these people who looks backwards, or do you just always look forwards?
No, I always get with reviews from older albums, you know. I'm always in contact to we have a strong fan base, you know. We talk about older stuff, you know, and especially for example, the artist who did the cover artwork.
Mm,
It's a Polish guy, you know. He told me, you know, there was one album that changed my life, which is the best album ever. This album is the holy grail of every metal album, and it's Sodom Obsessed by Cruelty.
nice.
I
Excellent.
was laughing, couldn't believe it. He said there was so much remembrance when he listened to this album. You know, he's coming from a really dark black metal scene.
Mm,
He worked together with Mayhem and all the stuff, you
mm.
know. And especially all Mayhem members, they were big Sodom fans, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I realized that albums like Obsessed by Cruelty or In the Sound of Evil, they had a big impact to the scene, you know. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter, you know, when we recorded the first records, you know, we were completely drunken all the time, you
Mm.
know. Nobody told us to tune the guitars before recording. You never mind. And we just had an engine, you play the music, I got a record, it's on a tape, you know. And we bring it out, you know. And this is something really special behind what a lot of people like, you know, what people
Mm.
enjoy, you know. They don't tune their guitars, they don't play in timing, you know, they just drink in the studio. But this is a typical black metal album, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I
A
remember when I
very
was,
a very chaotic scene, you know. And I know that all the records had big impact to the scene, you know. Also, later when we go to Persecution Made Age and Orange, you know, really successful albums till nowadays.
absolutely, absolutely. I think that might have been one of the things that attracted me to German thrash in the first place was the fact that when I put on a record, I felt like I was doing something naughty. I thought maybe I shouldn't be listening to this. This might be dangerous music. And I think that's what lots of kids my age were addicted to. They were like, "Oh yeah, this sounds cool," you know?
I think the American band sounds more polished, in my opinion. You
Exactly.
know what you say? I
Mm,
think the English band and German bands were more rough, more chaotic. You know, the vocals and everything. And I like Slayer, Metallica. I was a big fan of them. You know, but
mm,
this was more high polished, better produced. You know, I think they get more support from the parents. Maybe they get more
mhm.
money from the record companies for better studios. You know, that's a big difference. I think.
Yeah. Well, this new album, The Arsonist, once again, this is very timely, but it's a trademark of yours. There's a lot of war songs on this record, but that's very timely at the moment with the world being like it is, and with Trump's America, what's happening, with Russia and Ukraine and all of that stuff. Was that an influence, or was it always an influence?
it was always an influence. And I don't, I know what happened to the world, and I'm really scared about.
Mm,
I'm scared about not, I'm not scared about myself, I'm scared about the generation growing up in this world,
mm.
And that is what we also try to describe in the cover.
Yes.
The arsonist is not, it's not President Trump or President Putin, whatever. It's not a special person.
Mm.
Um, but the cover describes the situation. We got a peaceful situation
Yeah.
with a soldier on the knees, the death. And this guy tried to destroy everything.
Yeah.
He want to set the world on fire.
Mm,
Um, this reflects the situation we are living in. But when
mm,
I write my lyrics, I get inspired by this. But I don't wanna write songs about the big war or the politics behind.
mm.
I don't want to tell the people who's a good or bad guy. I'm very interested in the soldiers fighting,
Yeah.
on the front line. When I see pictures from Ukraine or Russian fighting in the field with the drones coming down. And there
Mm.
was one video, a drone was stopped and the soldier get the chance for the last cigarette. And,
Wow.
and when he threw the cigarette away, the drone coming down killed him. This is something it's horrible. And that
Yeah.
is something I try to write lyrics about.
Mm, mm.
I don't. There is no political message in the songs. I don't want. No,
No.
I just want to describe it.
Yeah.
Okay, the dictators send the soldiers to the war fighting, and they get killed. And the dictator never get in its war by himself. He don't
Mm,
know what to do.
mm,
That's complete situation stupid. But I am somebody who have to write lyrics.
hmm
And this inspired me.
mm. Absolutely. And there's a track on your album where you pay tribute to your late drummer. Do you think through the lyrics of that you've summed up well? Do you think he'd approve of the song?
My ex-drummer, he's always present when we're recording something, when we're playing live. Especially when we recorded the 40 Years at War sampler. We have to get into all the material, like Obsessed by Cruelty. And my drummer told me that Witch Hunter was a great drummer.
Mm,
He has a chaotic style, and Tony tried to do the same style like Witch Hunter with more accuracy nowadays. So as a modern drummer. And Witch Hunter also was my best friend in the beginning. He was a
mm,
former of the band together with me.
mm,
He's always present. So I came up with the idea of writing a song about him.
mm,
But when you read the lyrics, it's not, he was not a big hero. He was a great drummer. He had a big impact to the drummer scene, metal scene, whatever. And in the end, his life went so much tragic and horrible,
mm,
because of
mm.
alcohol abuse. There is also a song about L.G. Ward on this album, which
Yes.
is called AWT. It's the same. L.G. Ward was my big inspiration, my hero.
Mm,
He was, for me, he was the best metal singer of all time. He
mm,
was a great bass player. I really enjoyed the first Tank records
mm,
till nowadays. And the same. He got no more success with the music. He started drinking too much. And
mm.
he was gone too early. I lost so many good friends because of alcohol and drugs.
Absolutely.
And this two guys reflects how bad it is to lose somebody who you really love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's endemic. Um, yeah, especially in the 80s and 90s, it was a huge problem. Huge problem. Um, are there any when you're listening to music these days, are there any new bands out there? You've mentioned Midnight. Are there any newer bands out there that you feel are carrying the flame, like carrying, the fire that you started?
No, you can't. I think Midnight, they're gonna try it. If you close your eye, it could be Venom, it could be more. Yeah, there are a couple of bands around. But you cannot keep the spirit of the 80s.
No.
Even myself can do it. Because it was this music in the 80s was completely different to nowadays. I know there were a lot of young bands around who try to copy the 80s style, with the clothing and with the boots and all the stuff, trying to do the same music like Creator, Destruction, Sodom, Exodus, whatever, but you can't.
No.
It's just a copy. I
Yeah.
think this music just reflects the 80s and 90s.
Mm.
When we did the music. You cannot. We try to keep the spirit of Sodom and of the
Mm.
old school. That's where we record it on tape when we don't change our music, we try to keep in line. We don't to leave, want to leave our fans disappointed when we release an album. But you cannot keep the spirit.
No, no, no. I mean,
You know,
especially,
when you see Maiden concert, it's not the same. I saw Maiden for first time in '82.
yeah. Wow,
That
that's
was I really enjoy. It's completely different nowadays.
mm.
The shows are blowing up, big stage, and other stuff. It's not more the same. The time is gone.
Do you still enjoy touring now? Like,
No.
no.
No, I want to tell you what, I want to slow down the things a little bit. I want to stop touring. We have two upcoming shows in Germany and in Denmark.
Hmm.
The last show will be the Rock Hearts Festival in the end of June or begin 1st July, and then it's gone, for me.
Right.
What I'm
Right.
gonna do, I'm gonna do a break. I don't know. I have no plans for coming back, doing this or doing that. I want to stop touring. I want to stop. I make a stop from a completely music business.
Mm.
I want
Wow.
to. I want to spend more time with the family, with good old friends, with my hunting, with everything, with my house.
Mm.
And that's the way it is. If you're getting my age, I get 62 years old. And my doctor told me you're in a very good condition, but slow it down if you
Yeah.
if it's possible. It's
Mm.
also the money behind and everything. Um, yes, that's what I gotta do now.
Fair. Fair. Well, you put
Yeah,
so much work, you put so much music into the world, and you can't
yes,
say you haven't built this massive legacy. You
yes.
know?
Oh, yeah. So I still working on the music. We are you remember that we released the Tapping the Vein, the re-release,
Mm.
and now we start working on a Get What You Deserve
Hmm.
re-release and the BMG is a new company. They want to re-release the complete back catalog.
Oh, fantastic.
So always with box set, vinyls, and all the stuff. And then it's Get What You Deserve is the next one in line, and we talk about Obsessed by Cruelty.
Mm.
And so I'm still busy working on
Yeah.
music, but I just do more home office.
Yeah.
I'm
Perfect.
not I'm not outside. Um, I like to spend my time on stage.
Mm.
That is my life. I don't want to waste time on
Mm.
tour. If you're sitting in a tour bus or sitting in airplanes, shitty hotels, waiting for everything, it's stupid. So I told to my family and to my friends, I gotta do a break now and do other things.
Fair. Fair. Absolutely.
But it's not
Absolutely.
forever. I don't want to have any plans for coming back. I don't want to set myself under pressure when I'm
Mm.
gonna tell the people are coming back in next year or 2 years. I don't know.
Fine. Well, The Arsonist is an exceptional record. Um, there's a question I'm asking everybody I interview this year. We're going to make a playlist out of this at the end of the year. Now, if the German education department came to you and said, "We want a song from you, any genre, any artist that you believe that an 18-year-old should listen to before they leave school," like what song would set them up for life at the age of 18?
In the age of 18,
Mm.
I don't know.
And it can be anyone.
It's a bad. It's a should it be a metal song, whatever? Or
Whatever you think would be useful to hear when you're that age.
when I was 18, what I listened to, when somebody came up to me, I never listened to heavy you know, and I want to start listening to metal. What is the first album or first song I'm gonna buy? I
Yeah,
would definitely say it's Judas Priest Screaming for Vengeance, which is a
awesome.
pure and classic metal album. And
That's a
this is
great choice.
something for me, that is metal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I once asked someone, like, if you're gonna say what is heavy metal, he said, "I'd just give him Judas Priest."
Yes. Maybe with the British Steel or maybe okay, there are hundreds around, but I
Yeah,
think the Judas Priest Screaming for Vengeance, it's a pure
classic,
metal
classic,
in the
classic.
purest form, in my opinion.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Tom, for talking to me today. It's been an absolute honor. Um, Congratulations on the new record, and
Thank you.
good luck with the future. Thank you very much, mate.
Hope to see you soon and take care, my friend. All right.
Take care.